"Get out of this house, Mother. You're not part of this family anymore. Leave." Those were the exact words my daughter screamed at me at 8:47 p.m. on Tuesday, November 12th. She didn't know I had spent decades learning how to document what others prefer to ignore. And for the past 3 years living under the same roof as her, I had been doing exactly that. Every receipt, every text message, every witness, all saved. I grabbed my suitcase without saying a word. No tears, no begging. I just looked into my daughter's eyes and said with a calm that even surprised me, "We'll see each other soon, very soon." What she didn't realize was that exactly 17 days later, a certified letter would arrive at her door, and its contents would destroy her marriage, her reputation in the neighborhood, and force her husband to confront truths he had been hiding for years. But before we get into the story, please support us by liking and subscribing right now. I also want to say hi. Leave your name, city, and the word present in the comments. I want to know where you're listening from, even in faraway places. The room smelled like burnt coffee. That coffee that my son-in-law Kevin had left on the stove all afternoon while talking on the phone with his buddies, laughing about something I couldn't hear. The ceiling light flickered. I had changed that bulb 3 weeks before, perched on a ladder, my 68 years weighing down on me and my left knee creaking with every step I climbed. The air was heavy, dense, as if the house itself knew something irreparable was about to break. My hands trembled as I closed my suitcase, not from fear, but from a cold, repressed rage I had been holding for exactly 365 days. The hardwood floor creaked under my feet as I walked toward the door. That apartment I had cleaned every morning for 3 years, on my knees with my own hands. I could taste the metallic flavor of betrayal in my mouth, like when you accidentally bite the inside of your cheek and blood suddenly spurts out. It had been only 13 months since that first phone call. 1 year and 1 month since I had helped her with all my money. I could hear my daughter's heavy breathing behind me, irritated, impatient, as if I were an obstacle she was finally getting rid of. I still hadn't cried. No, but before I continue, let me ask you something. Check if you're already subscribed to this channel and leave a like if you want to know how all this ended. And tell me in the comments where you're listening from right now. I need to know how far these words, which took so much courage to speak out loud, have reached. Do you know what the first sign that something was wrong was? It wasn't that Tuesday in November. It was a year before, on Friday, September 22nd. It was 11:18 in the morning when my phone rang. My daughter, with a tired and defeated voice, said, "Mom, I need to ask you a huge favor. Kevin and I are going through a really hard time. He lost his job 2 months ago. We can't pay the rent. The kids don't have food. Could you help us? Just for a little while. I promise." My heart shattered hearing those words. My baby girl, my little Sarah, the same one I raised alone after her father abandoned us when she was 7 years old. The same one I made breakfast for at 5:30 a.m. before going to work at the courthouse. The same one I worked double shifts for 4 years to pay for the private university she wanted so badly. That same day, I gave her everything I had saved in the bank, $3,500. My savings from 12 years, the money I had put together penny by penny to fix the roof of my little house that leaked every time it rained. I gave her my future. I gave her my security. I gave her everything, because that's what a mother does, isn't it? But it wasn't enough. 2 weeks later, she called me again. "Mom, the money's gone. We're in so much debt and Kevin just found out I'm pregnant again. We need more help." She made a long pause, so long I could hear the kids screaming in the background. "Could you come live with us? That way you'd take care of the kids while Kevin and I look for work, and you could help with some expenses until we get back on our feet." I should have said no. I should have protected the little I had left. But when I heard my 4-year-old grandson crying in the background, when I imagined those children going hungry, when I thought of my daughter sleeping on the street with her family, I couldn't refuse. I sold my house, that little 2-bedroom house I had bought with so much sacrifice, the house where my daughter took her first steps, the house where we celebrated every Christmas, every birthday, every important moment of our lives. I sold it for $105,000. I sold it for a ridiculously low price because I needed to sell fast. I gave $75,000 to my daughter to pay off their debts. I put the rest in an emergency fund. I packed my whole life into 4 suitcases. I donated my furniture. I left behind 30 years of memories and moved into my daughter's house. October 1st, a gray Tuesday. It was raining. I remember the smell of wet earth when I stepped out of the taxi. I remember my hands were freezing. I remember my son-in-law Kevin opening the door with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Welcome, Dorothy. I hope you'll feel comfortable here." He didn't call me mom or mother-in-law, just Dorothy, as if we were two strangers sharing the same space. But I smiled, hugged my grandchildren, kissed my daughter on the forehead, and walked into what would be my new home. Do you know what the first thing I noticed was? The house was spotless, clean and organized, with new furniture, a huge TV in the living room, stainless steel appliances in the kitchen, and expensive decorations on every wall. This didn't look like the house of people with no money, I thought, but I didn't say anything. Not yet. They showed me my room, the smallest one in the house. It was more like a converted office, no window, a twin bed, and a small closet. It smelled of confinement, of a forgotten space, the kind of place where you store things you don't use anymore. But I smiled and said, "It's perfect. Thank you for taking me in." That night, while unpacking my clothes in that windowless room, while folding my old blouses and hanging them in that tiny closet, I heard voices in the living room. Laughter. My daughter and Kevin were celebrating something. I peeked through the door. They were toasting with red wine, expensive wine. I could see the price on the bottle. I had seen the price once at the grocery store, $25 a bottle. "Finally got rid of that mortgage," Kevin said, raising his glass. "Your mom saved us. Now we can breathe." My daughter clinked glasses with him. "Let's make a toast to Mom, to her generosity." Generosity. That word hung in the air like smoke. It wasn't generosity. It was sacrifice. It was love. It was a mother giving everything for her daughter, but to them it was just generosity, as if I were some benefactor doing charity work. Not her mother, not her family, just someone generous. I closed my bedroom door, sat on that twin bed, took a deep breath, and for the first time, I felt something strange in my chest, something small, something I could barely recognize. I had doubts, but I ignored them because that's what mothers do, isn't it? We ignore the signs, we forgive the unforgivable, we justify the unjustifiable, all for love. What I didn't know then was that that little doubt would become certainty, and that certainty would lead me to make decisions that would change everything forever. But I'll get there. The first week was calm, too calm. I woke up at 5:30 a.m., made breakfast for everyone, scrambled eggs, bacon, toast with butter. I woke up my grandchildren, dressed them, combed their hair, packed their backpacks for school. Kevin came downstairs at 8 a.m., already showered and ready, grabbed a cup of coffee, and left without saying thank you. My daughter came down 15 minutes later, had breakfast in silence, staring at her phone. I washed the dishes while they left. It seemed normal. It seemed like I was helping my family. It seemed like my sacrifice had some meaning. But something changed on the Monday of the second week. It was 10:43 a.m. I was cleaning the upstairs bathroom, the one my grandchildren used. I found mold in the corners of the shower. Black mold, dangerous for small children. I was on my knees scrubbing with bleach when I heard someone coming up the stairs. Kevin was carrying shopping bags, many bags. I heard the rustle of paper. The clinking of hangers reached his room without him noticing my presence. He dropped the bags on the bed and started pulling out clothes. New shirts, shoes, a leather jacket. I peeked through the bathroom door. "Kevin, you went shopping?" He turned, looked at me as if he had just remembered I existed. "Oh yeah, needed to update my wardrobe for job interviews." First impression. "So, you got a job?" "Not yet, but I have an interview next week." "I need to look professional." I nodded, closed the bathroom door, kept scrubbing the grout, but something didn't add up. New clothes before even getting the job. How much had he spent? I peeked at the bags through the crack in the door. I recognized the logos: Nordstrom, Banana Republic, expensive stores. That afternoon, when I picked up the dirty laundry from the basket, I found the receipt in Kevin's pants pocket. I unfolded it. My hands shook when I saw it. $4,350 spent in a single day, on clothes he'd probably never wear. I saved the receipt. I don't know why I did it. I just felt like I needed to. I put it in my jacket pocket, the same denim jacket my sister had given me 8 years ago, the only jacket I had. That night during dinner, my daughter said something that made my skin crawl. "Mom, I need to ask you another favor. This month's rent is tough. Could you help us with $3,750? Just this month. I promise we'll have jobs by next month. I looked at Kevin. He was still eating his grilled chicken like nothing had happened. No guilt, no shame whatsoever. He had spent $4,350 on clothes that morning, and now my daughter was asking me for $3,250 for rent. I gave them the money, took my savings card, and went to the ATM. The next day, I watched the balance shrink. $26,250 left from the $30,000 I had after giving the $75,000 to my daughter. I withdrew $3,650 in cash at that ATM. I put it in an envelope and gave it to my daughter that night. She took it without looking me in the eyes. Thanks, Mom. You're the best. But I wasn't the best. I was the fool, the naive one, the one who kept believing that a mother's love could change things. Friends, every story I tell you is released every day, but YouTube will only show them to you if you tap the red subscribe button. Please do it now while I'm speaking. Tap subscribe, turn on notifications, and you'll never miss a story. Have you done it yet? Thank you. The months passed, October, November, December. Every month the same story. Mom, we need help with electricity. Mom, the kids need school supplies. Mom, the car broke down. Mom. I gave, I helped, I sacrificed, because that's what a mother does. I gave money for the electric bill. But 2 days later, I saw they had put up Christmas lights all over the front of the house. Lights that consumed electricity day and night, expensive lights that blinked in colors while I turned off the lamp in my windowless room to save money. I gave them money for school supplies, but the following week I saw Kevin come home with a brand new Apple Watch on his wrist, Series 9, $799. I had given money to fix the car, as I saw in the ad, but the car stayed the same, unfixed, with the same noise in the engine, the same worn tire. Where was my money going? What were they actually spending it on? I started paying attention, observing, documenting everything in silence. Every time someone asked me for money, I saved the transfer receipt. Every time I found a receipt, I photographed it with my phone before throwing it away. I didn't know exactly what I would do with that information. I just knew something was very wrong, and someday I might need proof. Christmas arrived. On December 24th, I spent the whole day cooking, from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. I made turkey with stuffing, honey-glazed ham, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, sweet potato pie, homemade rolls, and 3 different desserts. I prepared dinner for 12 people. My hands were covered in cinnamon and cloves. My back ached from standing so long. But I did everything with love because it was Christmas, because it was my family. I set the table with care. I used the best plates, the silver utensils, the cloth napkins I had ironed myself. 12 places for my daughter Sarah, Kevin, my 2 grandchildren, Kevin's parents, his sister, his brother-in-law, their 3 kids, and me. At 5 p.m., when everything was ready, when the house smelled wonderful and the table looked like a Christmas card, my daughter came downstairs. She was elegantly dressed, a gray dress, blue heels, shiny earrings. Mom, we're having dinner at Kevin's parents' house. Didn't I tell you? I froze. I was holding a pitcher of warm apple cider, steam rising. What? Yes, they insisted. You know how they are. We couldn't say no to them. I watched Kevin come downstairs with the kids already ready. I looked at the table set for 12 people. I looked at the food I had prepared for 10 hours. I looked at my wrinkled hands, smelling of cinnamon. And me? The question came out almost in a whisper. Kevin looked at me with something I can only describe as indifference. You can stay here and enjoy the dinner. You made plenty of food. It'll last several days. They left. I watched them get into the car. I watched them drive away. I saw the taillights disappear around the corner. I was left alone in the dining room, staring at 12 empty chairs, staring at plates no one would use, staring at food that would grow cold without anyone tasting it. I ate dinner alone that Christmas, seated at the head of that huge table, with the tick-tock of the grandfather clock as my only company. Every bite tasted like ashes, like humiliation, like something I couldn't quite name, but I didn't cry. No. That night, I took photos of the table, of the food, of the 12 empty chairs. I don't know why. I just did. They came back at 11:30 p.m., satisfied, happy, laughing, smelling of wine and expensive perfume. How was dinner, Mom? My daughter asked, without really expecting an answer. Very good, I replied. Very good. But it wasn't good. Nothing was good. And in that moment, something inside me began to break. Slowly, silently, irreparably. What I didn't know at the time was that Christmas was just a rehearsal, a test to see how far they could go, to see how much I could take before I fell apart. And believe me, when I say they were just getting started. January arrived with the cold and the bills. On January 3rd, a Friday, it was 7:18 a.m. when my daughter came into the kitchen with an envelope in her hand. Her face was serious, worried. Mom, we have a problem. The credit card maxed out. We owe $35,000. The interest is killing us. If we don't pay soon, they're going to sue us. I felt the floor shake beneath my feet. $35,000. How had they racked up so much debt? But I already knew the answer. Shopping bags, the Apple Watch, dinners out, Christmas lights, luxuries disguised as necessities. I only have $22,500 left in my account, I told her. That's everything I have. My daughter sat across from me and took my hands. Mommy, you know I wouldn't ask if it wasn't urgent. Give me what you have. Even if it's just $15,000, any amount helps. I promise that in March, when Kevin gets the job he wants, we'll pay you back everything with interest. I swear on my children. She swore on her children. Those children I bathed every night, those children I made breakfast for every morning, those children who called me Grammy and hugged me when they were scared. I gave her $15,000. Of the $105,000 I received from selling my house, I only had $7,500 left. My entire life boiled down to money. I only had $7,500 left and 3 months of living under that roof. But things would get better, I told myself. They had to get better. And for a moment, it seemed like they did. The following week, my daughter was different, kind, attentive. She brought me flowers on Tuesday, white daisies, my favorites. Thank you for everything, Mom. I don't know what we'd do without you. You're the pillar of this family. Kevin cooked on Wednesday, something he never does. He made pasta. It wasn't very good, a bit overcooked, but the intention was sweet. I want you to rest today, Dorothy. You do so much for us. On Thursday, the kids drew me a picture with crayons, 3 figures holding hands. Me, them, and a huge sun in the corner. We love you, Grammy, the drawing said in crooked letters. I breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe they had reflected. Maybe they finally understood my sacrifice. Maybe all the pain had been worth it. But then Friday came. It was 2:37 p.m. I was folding clothes in my room when I heard a knock at the front door. Voices, laughter. I went downstairs. My daughter and Kevin were at the entrance with a man in a suit carrying folders, a financial consultant. They went to the living room and closed the door. I stayed in the kitchen, but I could hear bits of the conversation through the wall. With the money my mom gave us, we paid off the urgent bills, but we need a bigger loan to clear everything and start fresh. How much do you need? $50,000. With that, we'll pay off all the debts and still have a reserve for 6 months. The consultant's voice sounded calculating, cold. Do you have any collateral? Any property? Anything that can secure the loan? There was a silence, a long silence that made my skin crawl. Then I heard Kevin's voice, clear, firm, without hesitation. My mother-in-law gets Social Security, $2,000 a month. We can use her as a co-signer. She lives with us. She has no expenses. She can sign. I felt like I was drowning. They wanted to use my Social Security, my only source of income. The $2,000 I received every month after working 32 years at the courthouse. They wanted to tie me to a debt I hadn't created. They wanted to make sure that if they didn't pay, I would lose even that. I didn't come out of the kitchen, didn't say anything. I just stood there, breathing slowly, listening. It's perfect, the consultant said. With that collateral, I can approve the loan in a week. That night, during dinner, my daughter brought up the subject casually, as if she were commenting on the weather. Mom, we met a financial consultant. He can help us consolidate our debts. We just need you to sign some papers. It's just a formality. You won't even have to pay anything. It's just to secure the loan. I looked into her eyes, those eyes I had known since she was born, those eyes that once looked at me with infinite love. Now they looked at me differently, calculating, needy, with the certainty that I would say yes, like always. And if I can't sign, their expression changed. The kindness evaporated like water in a hot pan. What do you mean you can't? It's just your signature, Mom. It doesn't cost anything. But my social security would be at risk. It's just a formality. Nothing's going to happen, I promise. That word again, promise. A word that had lost all meaning in that house. Let me think about it, I said. Kevin set his fork on the plate. The sound echoed in the dining room. Metal against ceramic, dry, harsh. After everything we've done for you, given you a roof over your head, food, a family. I sold my house to give you $75,000. I gave almost all my money. I take care of your kids without charging a penny. I clean this house, cook every day. Doesn't that count? The silence that followed was worse than any scream. My daughter got up from the table. She didn't say anything, just went to the bedroom. Kevin followed her. The kids looked at me, confused. Grammy, are you okay? Yes, sweetheart, keep eating. But I wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. That night, while everyone slept, I grabbed my phone, opened the calculator, and added up all the money I had given them in 5 months. $75,000 from selling my house, $3,750 for October rent, $3,000 for November, $4,500 for December, $15,000 for January, $101,250 total. In 5 months, I had given away $101,250, and now they treated me like I owed them something. Sometimes we give so much, we forget that we also deserve to receive. Have you ever felt like your sacrifice was worth nothing? Like giving everything of yourself was your obligation? Share your story in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone in this. If you want to know how this story ends and discover many more, hit the red subscribe button. It's free, and it helps me a lot. I took screenshots of all the bank transfers. I saved them in a hidden folder on my phone, a folder I called Personal Documents. Nobody was going to look at something with such a boring name. That's where I started saving everything. Every receipt, every photo of bank statements I found, every text message asking me for money. I didn't know what I would do with that information. Not yet. I just knew I needed proof because something inside me told me this wasn't going to end well, that the day would come when I would need to prove the truth, and I wanted to be ready for that day. There were only 43 days left until I would walk out of that house with my suitcase in hand. 43 days until my daughter would scream those words that would change everything. 43 days until I would dial that number I had saved on my phone for years. The number of my friend Barbara, a lawyer specializing in family law, the same one who had told me about this 5 years ago when we still worked together at the courthouse. Dorothy, if you ever need legal help, call me. It doesn't matter what time, it doesn't matter the reason, just call me. But I didn't know that yet. I still believed things could be worked out. I still had hope. Hope is dangerous. It blinds you, makes you vulnerable, makes you stay in places you should leave. And I stayed one more day, one more week, one more month, until I couldn't take it anymore. February was the month when the masks finally fell. February 14th, Valentine's Day. It was 9:01 a.m. when I came downstairs to make breakfast as usual. I found the kitchen empty, strangely empty, not a single dirty dish, no sign that anyone had eaten breakfast yet. I went upstairs. My daughter's bedroom door was open. The bed was made, the closet half empty. I knocked on the kids' bedroom door, also empty, beds unmade, toys scattered on the floor, but no children. I felt panic rise in my throat. Where were they? I called my daughter. It rang 5 times. Finally, she answered. Her voice sounded distant, with an echo. Mom, we're in Cancun. We decided to take a few days off as a family. The kids needed a vacation. We'll be back Sunday. Cancun? When did you decide this? Last night. It was a last-minute decision. We got a great deal. We couldn't pass it up. And why didn't you tell me? There was a pause, a long pause where I heard waves in the background, children's laughter, music. We forgot. Sorry, but rest. Enjoy the house to yourself. She hung up without saying goodbye, without asking how I was, without considering that maybe I also needed a vacation, that maybe I was also tired. I sat in the living room of that huge, empty, silent house. I opened Facebook, and there it was. Sarah's post from 3 hours ago. A photo at the airport. Her, Kevin, the kids, all smiling. The caption said, finally, a well-deserved vacation. No responsibilities, no obligations, just the 4 of us. Chakan family, blessed Nachaka Cancun. No responsibilities, no obligations. I was the responsibility. I was the obligation. I checked more posts. Photos of the resort, 5-star hotel, infinity pool overlooking the ocean, room with a private balcony, lobster buffet, kids in life vests on the beach, Kevin with a drink in hand, Sarah in a white dress billowing in the wind. I searched how much that resort cost. I found the website, the family room Valentine's package, 4 nights, $46,000, all inclusive. I stared at the screen. $46,000, almost half of what I had given them. Spent in 4 days of pleasure while I ate oatmeal every morning to save money, while I wore the same clothes I'd had for 5 years, while I turned off the lights in my room to avoid increasing the electric bill. I took a screenshot and saved it in the hidden folder, photograph number 63. I spent those 4 days alone, cleaning a house that wasn't mine, cooking for no one, waiting for someone to call, send a message, or ask how I was. Nobody called. They came back Sunday at 10:40 p.m., tanned, relaxed, happy. The kids ran to hug me. "Grammy, we missed your quesadillas." Sarah walked past me without saying hello. Kevin dropped the suitcases in the entryway. "It was an incredible trip, Mom. You should travel more. It's good for the soul. You should travel more." As if I had money, as if I had freedom, as if I wasn't there precisely because I gave everything for them. I didn't say anything, just smiled, nodded, and went to my windowless room while they unpacked souvenirs and gifts from a place I was never invited to. But the worst was yet to come. On Saturday, February 28th, Sarah organized a family gathering at the house. She invited Kevin's parents, his siblings, his aunts, his cousins, 23 people total. She asked me to cook for everyone. "Mom, you cook so well. Nobody makes pot roast like you. Please, it's important to me." I cooked for 2 days. Beef brisket, mac and cheese, collard greens, cornbread, pecan pie, sweet tea, and 3 different desserts. My feet swelled. My back ached terribly. But I did it because, against all logic, I still wanted to be part of that family. The gathering started at 3 p.m. Everyone arrived, elegant, perfumed, bringing bottles of wine and gifts. They sat in the living room, the dining room, the backyard. They ate, laughed, made toasts. I served. I picked up plates, filled glasses, brought more food, cleaned spills, like I was the maid, like I wasn't the mother of the homeowner, like I wasn't the woman who made it possible for them to have that roof over their heads. Nobody thanked me. Nobody offered me a seat. Nobody included me in the conversations, until Kevin's mother, a 68-year-old woman with a pearl necklace and red lipstick, asked out loud, "Sarah, who is she? Did you hire a new housekeeper?" The dining room went silent. All conversations stopped. 22 pairs of eyes stared at me, waiting. My daughter opened her mouth to speak, but Kevin spoke first, with a smile tinged with a bittersweet voice. "This is Dorothy, Sarah's mother. She lives with us, helps with the kids and around the house. It's like having a full-time nanny. Very convenient. A nanny." He called me a nanny. In front of my whole family, I felt the heat rise up my neck and cheeks. My hands trembled as I held a pitcher of iced tea, but I didn't cry, didn't complain, didn't say anything. I simply set the pitcher on the table, took off my apron, folded it carefully, and said with a calm that even scared me, "Enjoy your meal." I went upstairs, entered my room, closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed, and breathed deeply. 1, 2, 3 times. I didn't go back downstairs all afternoon. I still hadn't cried. I didn't hear the laughter, the music, the goodbyes. When everyone left, when the house finally went quiet, I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. My daughter knocked on my door. "Mom, are you okay? I'm sorry. Kevin was a little harsh. You know how he is. He didn't mean it badly." I opened the door, looked at her. He didn't mean it badly? He called me a nanny in front of 23 people. He treated me like I was your employee. Me, who sold my house for you. Me, who gave you all my money. I take care of your kids without charging a penny. Is this how you repay me? She sighed, tired, frustrated. "You're overreacting, Mom. You're so dramatic. You've always been like this. Everything's a drama with you." Dramatic. That word hit me like a knife to the chest. I closed the door gently, calmly, without slamming it. Because that's what we do when we have the last shred of dignity left. We don't scream. We don't break things. We just close doors gently and firmly. That night, I called my friend Barbara, the lawyer. It was 11:52 p.m. She answered on the second ring. "Dorothy, what happened?" And then, yes, then, for the first time in months, I cried. I told her everything, every penny given, every humiliation endured, every broken promise, every swallowed lie. Barbara listened in silence. When I finished, when I had no more words or tears left, she said something that changed everything. "Dorothy, did you document anything? Do you have proof?" "I have everything. Every transfer, every receipt, every message, every photograph." "Perfect. Keep it safe and listen carefully. Don't sign anything. Don't give them another penny. And if things get worse, call me immediately. We'll protect you. I promise." But unlike my daughter's promises, Barbara's promise felt true, solid, real. There were only 12 days left until everything exploded. 12 days until my daughter would point at the door and scream those words I never imagined hearing from her. 12 days until I would grab my suitcase and dial that number again. And this time, it wouldn't be to cry, it would be to act. But I didn't know that yet. I still thought that maybe, just maybe, a mother's love could fix the unfixable. How wrong I was. March arrived with suffocating heat and the truth. On Wednesday, March 5th, at 4:17 p.m., I was tidying my daughter and Kevin's bedroom. They had gone to an appointment with the financial consultant. The kids were at school. The house was silent, a silence that allowed me to think, remember, process everything that had happened. I was changing the sheets on their bed when something fell from under Kevin's pillow. A small green notebook with a hardcover. It fell open. I saw my name written on one of the pages, Dorothy, dated August from the previous year, a month before I moved into their house. I shouldn't have opened it. I know. But when I saw my name there, I couldn't help myself. My hands grabbed that notebook. My eyes read the words written in Kevin's small, neat handwriting, and what I read chilled me to the bone. August 23rd, the Dorothy plan. Sarah talked to her mom today, said I lost my job. Lie, I never lost it, but she believed it. She's going to ask for money this week. If she gives enough, we can pay off the credit card and still have money left for the Cancun trip we want in February. I had to read that sentence 3, 4, 5 times because my brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. Kevin never lost his job. Never. Everything was a lie from the beginning. I kept reading. My hands trembled so much I could barely hold the notebook. September 8th. It worked. Dorothy sold her house. She gave us $75,000. Sarah says she has another $30,000 saved. We need to get the rest little by little. If we ask for everything at once, she might get suspicious. Better in monthly installments. Rent, bills, emergencies. Made up. September 15th. Dorothy moved in today. Sarah gave her the room with no window. Perfect. The more uncomfortable she is, the less she'll want to stay long. But for now, we need her. She takes care of the kids for free, cleans and cooks. It's like having a live-in maid without paying anything, and she still has money we can use. October 12th, we asked her for $3,750 for rent. She gave it to us without asking questions. We used the money to buy Christmas lights and my Apple Watch. Dorothy is so naive. She believes everything we tell her. My vision blurred. The words danced on the page. I felt nausea rising in my throat. This couldn't be real. It couldn't be. But I kept reading because I needed to know. I needed to see how deep the betrayal went. December 24th. We left Dorothy alone on Christmas. Sarah says she felt bad, but I reminded her of the plan. The more unhappy she feels, the easier she is to control. Guilt makes her generous, and we need her to stay generous. January 3rd. Got another $15,000 from her. She only has $7,500 left, according to Sarah. We've almost exhausted the possibilities. When her money runs out, we'll see if she's still useful for anything. If not, we'll have to ask her to leave, but nicely. We don't want her causing problems. February 14th. Went to Cancun without telling her. Sarah wanted to tell her, but I said no. This isn't her family. It's our family. She's only here because we need her. When she's no longer useful, she'll leave. My legs gave out. I sat on the floor. I pressed the notebook against my chest, and something inside me died. Not loudly, not dramatically. It just went out, like a candle being snuffed. Everything had been planned, every lie, every fake tear, every empty hug, every broken promise. Everything was calculated, orchestrated, executed with precision. My daughter knew. My daughter participated. My daughter lied to my face while I sold my house, while I gave her my savings, while I sacrificed my future for her. And Kevin orchestrated everything. With his green notebook, his neat handwriting, his cold, calculated plan to extort me down to the last penny. I photographed every page, 23 pages total, 23 pages of documented cruelty, of evil written in neat handwriting. I sent them to Barbara by text. She responded in 3 minutes. Dorothy, this is gold. It's proof of fraud, financial manipulation, and emotional abuse. Don't delete anything and get out of that house as soon as possible. But I still couldn't leave because I had nowhere to go. $7,500 wasn't enough to rent a place, not even for a deposit. I was trapped in a house that hated me, with people who saw me as a useful object to be discarded when no longer needed. I put the notebook back exactly where I found it, under Kevin's pillow. I finished changing the sheets, smoothed out the wrinkles, arranged the pillows as if nothing had happened, as if my world hadn't collapsed 10 minutes ago. I went downstairs, made coffee, poured myself a cup, sat at the kitchen table, and waited. As I tell you this, I wonder, where are you listening from right now? A big city, a small town? Write the name of your city in the comments. I need to know that my words are reaching someone, that someone is hearing me, that I'm not completely alone in this. They came back at 6:30 p.m., laughing as they walked in with a bag of Chinese takeout. They didn't even ask if I was hungry. They sat in the living room, eating straight from the containers, talking about their day, their plans, their bright future. I stayed in the kitchen, invisible, irrelevant, useful only when they needed something. That night, when everyone was asleep, I grabbed a shoebox from under my bed. There I kept all the important documents I still had left: my birth certificate, my ID, my social security statement, the paperwork from selling my house, receipts of all the bank transfers. I organized them one by one with care, like I used to at the courthouse when I prepared case files, in chronological order, by category, by relevance. I made a handwritten index, numbering each document, each photograph, each piece of evidence. 218 documents total, 218 pieces of proof that would back up my version of the story, that would show the truth, that would protect me when everything exploded, because something inside me knew it would explode. Soon, just 7 days, 1 week, 168 hours until my daughter would point at that door, until she would scream at me that I wasn't part of her family anymore, to force me to carry my suitcase and walk out into the street not knowing where to go. But when that moment came, I would be ready, because I was no longer the same naive woman who sold her house trusting in empty promises. I was no longer the blind mother who justified the unjustifiable. I was no longer the silent victim who accepted crumbs of dignity. Now, I was something else, something more dangerous, something they would never imagine. I was a woman with evidence, with connections, with knowledge of the law, and with a lawyer friend who had spent 3 weeks preparing documents whose existence Sarah and Kevin didn't even know about. I called Barbara that night. It was 2:34 a.m. How long do you need to prepare everything? 1 week. Give me a week and everything will be ready. Civil lawsuit for fraud, lawsuit for financial manipulation, request for reimbursement of funds obtained through deception. And Dorothy, I'm warning you, once we file, there's no going back. Are you sure? I looked out my bedroom window. The darkness outside was total, silent, absolute. I'm sure of it. Prepare everything. I'll let you know when. And then I knew that the countdown had begun. 7 days to the end of the world as they knew it. 7 days for them to learn that a mother has limits, that love can become justice, that broken promises have consequences. 7 days until the truth. The following days were a farce. I pretended everything was normal. They pretended they loved me. We were all acting in a play where everyone knew the script, except them, because they didn't know I had found their green notebook. They didn't know I was mentally documenting every fake smile they gave me. They didn't know the ending of their story was already written. On Saturday, March 8th, at 10:04 a.m., Sarah came into the kitchen with a red folder under her arm. She found me washing the breakfast dishes. "Mom, I need you to sign this today. It's urgent. The financial consultant needs the documents by Monday." The red folder contained the loan contract, $50,000, my Social Security used as collateral. I looked at every page, reading each line calmly, without rushing, exactly like I used to at the courthouse when I reviewed legal documents. Sarah watched me impatiently, tapping her foot, drumming her fingers on the table. I got to page 7, the default clause. If the borrower fails to pay for 3 consecutive months, the co-signer will have to cover the entire debt plus accumulated interest at 28% per year. 28%. I looked at Sarah. Do you know how much 28% of $50,000 is in 1 year? She blinked. I don't know. It doesn't matter. We won't stop paying. It's $64,000 in 1 year. If they don't pay for 3 months, I'll have to pay with my monthly Social Security of $2,000. It would take 32 months, almost 3 years. I'm 68 years old. I'd be paying until I'm 71. Sarah sighed in frustration. For God's sake, Mom, that's not going to happen. Stop being so negative. You always look for problems where there aren't any. I closed the folder and pushed it toward her. I won't sign. Her expression changed. The mask of patience cracked. What did you say? I won't sign. I won't put my Social Security at risk. I'm sorry. She stood up from the chair. The chair scraped against the tile floor. After everything we've done for you, gave you a house, gave you a family, and now you won't do us this small favor? I gave you $101,250. I sold my house, take care of kids for free, clean, cook, do everything in this house. What more do you want from me? I want your signature on this damn paper. That's what I want. The word damn sounded like a slap, but I didn't flinch, didn't react. I just stared at her with that cold calm I had been practicing. That calm that scares more than any scream. I won't sign, and if you don't like it, I can leave. Sarah laughed, a dry, bitter laugh. Leave? Where to? You don't have a house, you don't have money, you don't have anything. You need us more than we need you. She left the kitchen and went upstairs. I heard her talking to Kevin, voices raised, arguing, plotting, and I stood there by the sink, my hands still wet, breathing slowly, counting down. Just 5 days left. That afternoon, my daughter came down to talk to me. She walked into the kitchen where I was preparing dinner. Her face was serious. Mom, we need to talk. I sat down. She sat across from me, took my hands, but this time her touch was different. Cold, calculated, without affection. You can't keep living here if you don't cooperate with the family. Kevin and I already talked. We need you to sign those papers, or we need you to find somewhere else to live. There it was, a direct threat, without disguise. I looked into her eyes, those eyes I had known since she was born, those eyes that once looked at me with infinite love when she was a feverish little girl and I took care of her all night, those eyes that cried in my lap when her father abandoned us, those eyes that shone with pride the day she graduated from college, thanks to my money. Those eyes now looked at me coldly, harshly, with something I didn't want to admit, but was undeniably there. Resentment. I understand, I said. Give me a few days to think. You have until Tuesday. That's it. 4 days. She gave me 4 days to choose between my dignity and a roof over my head. I chose my dignity. That night, at 11:52 p.m., I called Barbara. I need you to deliver everything Monday morning. First thing. Are you sure? After we do this, Dorothy, there's no going back. Your relationship with your daughter will be destroyed. Maybe forever. It's already destroyed, Barbara. I was just too blind to see. Okay. The documents will be at the civil court Monday at 9 a.m. Lawsuit for fraud, lawsuit for financial manipulation, request for restitution of funds obtained through deception, $101,000 or $250 plus legal interest. And Dorothy, there's one more thing. With the evidence you have, especially that notebook, we can prove premeditation. This wasn't a family misunderstanding. It was planned fraud. That has criminal consequences. Criminal consequences. You could face criminal charges, jail time, a criminal record, temporary loss of child custody during the investigation. Do you want to go that far? I thought about my grandchildren, those innocent, blameless children, those children I loved with all my heart. I thought about how they would feel if their parents went to jail, how it would affect them. But then I thought about the green notebook, the words written in neat handwriting, the coldness of the plan, the lies, the manipulation, how they had squeezed me like an orange and planned to discard me when I was no longer useful. I thought about all the mothers like me, all the women who give everything for their children and end up betrayed, humiliated, abandoned, used, and I made a decision. Go as far as necessary, whatever the consequences. They chose this path when they decided to lie to me, when they decided to steal from me, when they decided to treat me like trash. The consequences are theirs, not mine. Understood. Monday, 9 a.m. She hung up. I sat in the darkness of my windowless room, holding my phone, feeling the weight of what I had just done. There were no tears. I had no more left, just a cold, hard, definitive certainty. Tomorrow would be Sunday, the last Sunday in that house. Then Monday would come, the day the bomb would explode, and Tuesday, the day my daughter would kick me out of the house, not knowing it was too late, that the documents had already been filed, that justice was already underway, that time had run out. I spent all Sunday organizing my things, in silence and with method. I folded each piece of clothing, arranged each personal item, 2 suitcases. That was all I had left from a 68-year life. 2 suitcases that fit in the windowless room of the house I had helped save. I put the most important documents in my suitcase. I left copies with Barbara, but the originals would come with me, as a precaution. I ate dinner alone that night. Sarah and Kevin went out with the kids for pizza. They didn't invite me. They didn't even bother to pretend to invite me. I ate cold oatmeal, sitting at the kitchen table, listening to the wall clock. Every second that passed was 1 second less. Every minute that went by was 1 minute closer to the end. I washed my plate, my spoon, my cup, dried them, put them away, wiped the table, swept the floor, left everything spotless. Not because they deserved it, but because that's who I am. Because 32 years working in a courthouse taught me to leave everything in order, to close every case properly, to finish every file with professionalism. And this was my final case, the most important, the most painful, the most personal. I went up to my room at 8:17 p.m., lay down fully dressed, didn't sleep, just waited, counting the hours, the minutes, the seconds. At 9 a.m. Monday morning, Barbara would deliver the documents. At 10 a.m., the court would issue the notifications. At 11 a.m., a process server would arrive at the door of this house with a certified envelope, and my daughter would open the envelope, not knowing her life had just changed forever. I wouldn't be here to see it, because before that happened, I would already be gone. Not because they were kicking me out, but because I would choose to leave with my head held high, with my suitcases in hand, and my dignity intact. Because, in the end, it was all I had left. The only thing they couldn't take from me, the only thing worth saving. My dignity, my truth, my justice. Only 18 hours remained until Tuesday, November 12th, until 8:47 p.m., until the words that would change everything, until the moment my daughter would point at the door and scream that I wasn't part of her family anymore. But she didn't know one thing. She didn't know I no longer wanted to be part of that family. She didn't know I had already chosen to leave. She didn't know that when she pointed at that door, I already had a plan, a destination, a future that didn't include people who saw me as a disposable object. I closed my eyes, not to sleep, but to prepare for the final act of this play, for the ending they would never imagine. And I waited in silence, in the darkness, like thunder waiting for lightning, because the storm was about to begin. Tuesday, November 12th, the day finally arrived. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. as usual, but I didn't go downstairs to make breakfast. I stayed in my room, sitting on the edge of the bed, listening to the sounds of the house waking up without me. Footsteps upstairs, confused voices wondering where I was, why breakfast wasn't ready. I took a shower, put on my most presentable clothes, a white cotton blouse my mother had given me 20 years ago, simple black pants, and my comfortable shoes. I combed my hair in front of the small mirror, looked into my own eyes, those tired eyes, full of history, pain, and a strength I didn't even know I had. Today, everything ends, I told myself. One way or another, it ends today. At 9:14 a.m., I received a text from Barbara. Done. Documents delivered, notifications issued. The process server will arrive between 2 and 3 p.m. Are you okay? I replied. I'm ready. I went downstairs at 10 a.m. The kitchen was a mess. Dirty dishes piled up. Milk spilled on the table. The kids had eaten cereal straight from the box. Sarah was furious. Where were you? The kids were late to school. There was no breakfast. What's wrong with you? I'm not feeling well, I said. I'm going to rest today. She huffed. How convenient. Right on the day we need to talk about the papers we asked you to sign. I already gave my answer. I won't sign. Her face turned red. The veins in her neck bulged. You know what, Mom? I'm fed up. Fed up with your attitude. Fed up with your drama. Fed up with you being here like you're doing us a favor. You asked me to come, and it was a mistake. A huge mistake. She stormed upstairs and slammed the bedroom door. The sound echoed through the house like a gunshot. I stayed in the living room waiting because I knew what was coming. I could feel it in the air, a palpable, electric tension, like before a storm. At 2:27 p.m., there was a knock at the door, 3 strong, official knocks. I heard my daughter running down the stairs. I heard the door open. I heard a male voice. Process server. I have a notification for Mrs. Sarah Mitchell and Mr. Kevin Mitchell. Notification for what? A civil lawsuit. You need to sign to confirm receipt. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Then the sound of paper being torn, an envelope being opened, pages turning, and then the scream. What the hell is this? Kevin came running down the stairs. What's happening? My mom is suing us for fraud, for $101,250. She says we deceived her, that we have the notebook as proof. What notebook? I saw Sarah's expression change, from confusion to understanding, to pure terror. The notebook, the green notebook, her husband's diary of wrongdoing, his written confession, his fatal mistake. She brought her hands to her mouth. No, no, no. I had it hidden. How? I found it, I said from the living room. My voice sounded calm, cold, powerful. On March 5th, when I was tidying your room, it fell from under the pillow. I read everything, every lie, every plan, every cruel word, and I photographed every page. My daughter came into the living room. She was holding the lawsuit papers with trembling hands. Her face was pale. Mom, this can't be real. You can't do this to us. We're your family. I stood up, looked her directly in the eyes. You stopped being my family the day you decided to lie to me, the day you planned to steal from me, the day you treated me like a useful object to be thrown away when no longer needed. Sarah started to cry, but they were tears of panic, not regret. Mom, please, we can fix this. It was just a misunderstanding. I never meant to do this. You never meant to do what? Write a detailed plan of how to take all my money, call me a squeezed orange, leave me alone on Christmas while you spent my money in Cancun? Have your husband call me a nanny in front of your family? Which part was the misunderstanding? My daughter took a step toward me. Mom, don't do this. If you file this lawsuit, our reputation will be ruined, our jobs, our lives. You should have thought about that before. She changed. In 1 second, the last mask fell. Desperation turned to fury. Pure, uncontrolled, dangerous fury. She screamed in a voice I had never heard before, a voice full of venom, hatred, something unrecognizable. Get out of this house. You're not part of this family anymore. Get out. There they were, the same words I told you at the beginning, the words that would change everything, the words she could never take back. It was 8:47 p.m. The sun was setting. An orange light came through the windows. The air smelled of burnt food. Sarah had tried to cook and left something on the stove too long. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the tick-tock of the wall clock, my own heart beating slowly, controlled, calm. I didn't cry, didn't beg, didn't complain. I simply went upstairs. My footsteps echoed with each step. I entered my windowless room and grabbed my 2 suitcases. They were already packed, since yesterday. I went downstairs. My daughter was at the door, holding it open. Her face was like stone, hard, inflexible. Kevin was behind her, still crying, but not for me, for herself, for her destroyed future, for the consequences that had finally arrived. I walked to the door, passed my daughter, stopped, looked at her one last time, and said with a calm that even surprised me, "This is just the beginning. In 3 days, you'll receive a summons to appear before a judge. In 1 week, your bank accounts will be frozen during the investigation. In 2 weeks, your employer will be notified of the lawsuit. We've requested wage garnishment. And Sarah, there's something else you should know." What? Her voice trembled. Barbara went over everything. The notebook, the transfers, the deception. This isn't just a civil lawsuit. There was premeditation, proven fraud, and that has criminal consequences. You could face criminal charges, have a criminal record, and during the investigation, Child Protective Services will evaluate whether you're fit to have custody of your children. I saw her legs almost give out, how she grabbed the doorframe to keep from falling, how reality hit her like a hammer. You can't do this to your grandchildren. I'm not doing anything to them. You did this. You chose this path. The consequences are yours, not mine. I left. The door slammed behind me. I stood in the yard with my 2 suitcases under the darkening sky, breathing the fresh night air. Free, finally free. I grabbed my phone and dialed Barbara's number. I'm on my way. I'm waiting for you. The room is ready. And Dorothy, there's something you need to know. I just got a call from the court. Sarah tried to withdraw the charges. She offered to return the money immediately, with interest, if you dropped the charges. And what did you tell them? That I would talk to you, that the decision is yours. What do you want to do? I walked out to the street, toward the taxi I had called, which was already waiting for me. I put my suitcases in the trunk, got in the back seat, looked at that house one last time. That house I had helped save. That house that had drained me completely. That house where I lost my money, but found my strength. Tell her it's too late. The paperwork has already been filed. Justice is already underway, and I've made my decision. I hung up the phone. The taxi started moving. The lights of that house grew smaller in the rearview mirror until they disappeared completely, like a nightmare finally coming to an end. And for the first time in months, I smiled. Not from joy, not from revenge, but from something deeper. Peace. I arrived at Barbara's house at 9:32 p.m. She lived in a small but cozy apartment in downtown Chicago. She welcomed me with a hug. A real hug. The kind that holds you up when you feel like you're going to collapse. She helped me with my suitcases, showed me the guest room, a double bed, a big window with blue curtains, natural light, space to breathe. You can stay as long as you need, she said. No pressure, no conditions. You're my friend. And that's what friends do. I sat on that bed, touched the clean sheets. They smelled of detergent, of cleanliness, of a new beginning. And finally, after holding everything in for so long, I cried. Not from sadness, not from regret, but from relief, from liberation, from knowing I had done the right thing, even though it was the hardest thing. Barbara sat beside me, let me cry, didn't say anything, just was there like a true friend, like the family you choose when your blood relatives abandon you. When I finally calmed down, when I had no more tears left, she spoke. We need to prepare for what's coming. This isn't over. They're going to try everything. Pleas, threats, manipulation. You need to be prepared. I'm prepared. And I was. For the first time in months, I was completely prepared. The following days were a whirlwind. On Wednesday morning at 6:43 a.m., my phone started ringing. It was my daughter. I ignored it. She called again and again and again. 17 missed calls in 2 hours. Text messages. Dozens of messages. Mom, please, we need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. We can work it out. Think of your grandchildren. What's going to happen to them? I can't believe you're doing this to us. How can you be so cruel? I read all the messages without responding, because there was nothing more to say. Words were useless now. Only actions remained. Only justice. Only consequences. The court summons arrived on Thursday. Sarah and Kevin had to appear before the judge the following Monday. Barbara called me at 11 a.m. They tried to hire a lawyer. 3 lawyers refused. When they read the case and saw the evidence, especially the notebook, they realized there was no defense. Nobody wants to take a lost cause. On Friday at 3:18 p.m., I received a call from an unknown number. I answered. It was Kevin's mother. Her voice was harsh and accusatory. You're a cruel and vindictive woman. My son told me everything. You older people always want to control your children. Never let them live in peace, always with your dramas and demands. I took a deep breath. Ma'am, your son and my daughter plan to rob me of $250. They wrote it all down in a notebook, with dates, details, and coldness. This isn't drama, it's fraud, and it has legal consequences. You all just want money. All you old people are the same, never have enough. I sold my house to help them. I gave them all my savings. I took care of their grandchildren without charging a penny. You call that greed? She hung up without answering, because she had no answer. On Saturday, Sarah showed up at Barbara's apartment. I don't know how she got the address. She knocked on the door at 8:05 a.m. Barbara opened it. I stayed in my room, but I heard everything. I need to talk to Mom. Please, it's urgent. She doesn't want to talk to you. Just 5 minutes. I'm begging. Barbara came to my room. Sarah is here. Do you want to see her? I thought about ignoring her, leaving her outside, denying her even those 5 minutes, but something inside me needed closure. I needed to look into her eyes one last time. I needed to hear what she had to say now that everything had collapsed. Let her in. Sarah came in. She looked terrible. Deep dark circles, dirty hair, wrinkled clothes, trembling hands. She sat in the chair across from me, not on the bed. I kept my distance. Mom, I came to apologize. I know what we did was wrong, very wrong. But please, drop the charges. Kevin lost his job. He was fired when his boss found out. The bank froze our accounts. We can't pay rent. We're going to be evicted. The kids are scared. It's affecting them so much. Please, for their sake, drop the lawsuit and we'll pay everything back, every penny, I swear. With what money? If Kevin loses his job, we'll sell the car, the furniture, whatever it takes, but please, help us. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something I had never seen before. Real fear. Not fear of losing material things, fear of losing the children, fear of Child Protective Services finding them unfit, fear of facing the consequences of their actions. And in that moment, I had to make a decision, the hardest one of my life. I could keep going, take it all the way, watch them lose everything, watch my daughter face criminal charges, watch my grandchildren be temporarily placed with another family during the investigation. I could have collected every penny of the revenge they owed me, or I could have chosen something different, something they never gave me. Mercy. I still wonder if I did the right thing, if I should have been harder, more ruthless, or if showing compassion was the right thing to do. What would you have done in my place? Would you have gone all the way, regardless of consequences? Or would you have given them a second chance? Tell me in the comments. I really want to know what you think. I looked at Sarah and spoke in a calm, firm, decisive voice. I'm going to do something. Not for you, not for Kevin, but for my grandchildren, because they're innocent in all of this. I'm going to ask Barbara to modify the lawsuit. We'll drop the criminal charges. Only the civil lawsuit will remain. This means Kevin won't face criminal charges, there won't be a CPS investigation, and you won't lose custody of the children. I saw hope light up her face, but I raised my hand. I'm not finished talking, but this comes with conditions. You're going to pay back every penny. $101,250 plus 6% legal annual interest, a total of $17,500. You have 2 years to pay in monthly installments of $4,280. If you miss a single payment, the criminal charges will automatically be reactivated. Understood? She nodded desperately. Yes, I accept whatever it is. And there's more. You will never ask me for money again. You will never contact me unless I initiate contact. I'm going to live my life. You're going to live your own lives. I can see my grandchildren once a month in a neutral location without you present, just them and me. These are my conditions. I accept everything. Barbara will draw up a contract. You'll sign it before a notary. If you break any condition, you lose everything. The criminal charges will be reopened, and this time, there will be no mercy. This is your only chance, the only one you'll get. Sarah stood up, ran toward me, tried to hug me, but I stepped back. No, we don't do that anymore. We're no longer family in that sense. We're two people bound by a legal contract and 2 innocent children. Nothing more. She cried. Real tears this time. Tears of shame, of regret, of finally understanding what she had lost. Not my money, but my trust, my love, my presence. Things money can never buy back. Barbara walked her out and came back, looked at me with something like pride. You did the right thing, the hard thing, but the right thing. You think so? Yes, because you chose justice over revenge. You chose to protect the children instead of punishing the adults. That takes more strength than cruelty. The agreement was signed before the judge on Monday. Sarah and Kevin accepted all the conditions. The judge reviewed the case, examined the green notebook, analyzed the evidence, and said something I'll never forget. Mrs. Mitchell, you have the legal right to file criminal charges. The evidence is overwhelming. However, I respect your decision to be lenient, but I want to make it clear to the defendants. This is your only chance. If you violate this agreement in any way, you will face the full consequences of the law. Understood? Yes, Your Honor, they said in unison, their voices weak and defeated. We left the courthouse. Sarah was waiting outside. She looked haggard, exhausted, 10 years older in a week. Mom, Thank you. Thank you for not completely destroying us. I know we don't deserve it. No, you don't deserve it. But my grandchildren deserve to have their parents, and I deserve peace. So we're doing this. You're going to pay the debt. You're going to raise those children right, and you're going to live knowing that your mother, the woman you treated like trash, showed you more mercy than you ever showed me. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I know. But an apology doesn't bring back lost time, doesn't erase words spoken, doesn't heal wounds. Only time will tell if their regret is genuine or just fear of consequences. I walked away. Barbara walked with me. We got in her car. As we drove away from the courthouse, I looked in the rearview mirror. I saw Sarah and Kevin standing on the sidewalk, small, lost, facing a future where every month for 2 years they would have to send me a payment, a constant reminder of what they had done, of what they lost, of the consequences of treating people like disposable objects. 3 months have passed since then. I've received 3 payments, on time, exact, no extra words, just the transfer receipt. I've seen my grandchildren twice in a public park without their parents. I hugged them, played with them, bought them ice cream, told them I love them, and when they asked me why I don't live with them anymore, I told them the truth, adapted to their age. Sometimes adults have disagreements, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. I'll always love you. I got a part-time job at a law firm, administrative assistant, $800 a week. With my Social Security and this job, I have enough to rent a small apartment. I found it last week. A 1-bedroom apartment with a big window, natural light, a small but functional kitchen, and it's mine. Completely mine. I'm moving in next week, and for the first time in a year, I feel something I had forgotten existed. Hope. Not hope that things will go back to the way they were. That will never happen. Not hope that my daughter and I will have a close relationship again. Maybe we never will. But hope that I can build a new life. A life where I'm valued, where my dignity isn't for sale, where the people around me choose me because they want to be with me, not because they can use me. Sometimes I look at the green notebook. Barbara returned the photographs to me after the trial. I keep them in a folder, not to dwell on the pain, but to remind myself of my strength, to remind myself that I survived, that I stood up for myself, that I chose justice over silence. And when I feel weak, when doubt visits me in the middle of the night, questioning whether I was too harsh or not harsh enough, I open that folder, read those words written in neat handwriting, and remember why I did what I did. Because I deserved more. Because I deserved respect. Because I deserved to be treated like a human being, not like a walking cash cow. And because, in the end, the only person who can truly save you is yourself. Today is February 8th. It's been exactly 88 days since I walked out of that house with my 2 suitcases. 88 days since my daughter screamed at me that I wasn't part of her family anymore. 88 days since I chose my dignity over a roof over my head. I'm sitting in the living room of my new apartment. It's small, very small compared to the house where I lived for a year, but it's mine. The walls are white. I painted them myself last week. I have a secondhand armchair I bought at a thrift store, a table with 2 chairs, a comfortable bed, and cream-colored curtains that let in the morning sun. And for the first time in a long time, I feel at home. Not because the place is luxurious, not because I have everything I want, but because nobody here uses me, nobody lies to me, nobody writes in a green notebook how to take the little I have left. Here, I'm just Dorothy, a 68-year-old woman who made the mistake of trusting too much, who learned the most painful lesson of her life, who survived, and who is now building something new on the ruins of what she lost. I received the 4th payment 3 days ago, $4,280 on time like the previous ones. No message, no more apologies, just the receipt. I'm saving every penny in a savings account I opened specifically for this. When I reach $1,750 in 2 years, I'm going to take that money and do something I always wanted to do but never could. I'm going to travel alone, see places I've only seen in magazines, eat at restaurants without guilt, buy new clothes without counting every penny. Live. Really live. Not just survive, not just sacrifice, but live. Because I learned something in these 88 days. I learned that giving doesn't make you noble if the other person only takes. I learned that a mother's love isn't infinite when it's confused with exploitation. I learned that family isn't just blood. Family is respect, reciprocity, and valuing each other's sacrifices. And I learned that sometimes the one who most needs to be rescued is ourselves. I saw my grandchildren 2 weeks ago in the same park. They ran to me with that pure joy only children have. "Grammy, Grammy, we missed you. When are you coming back to live with us?" "I'm not going back, sweetheart, but I'll always be here for you, every month, in this same park. And when you grow up, when you're old enough to understand, I'll tell you this story. Not so you'll hate your mom, but so you'll learn something I learned too late. That people teach us how to treat them. That setting boundaries isn't cruelty. That saying no is an act of self-love. That we can love someone from a distance when proximity destroys that person." The boy looked at me with those huge, inquisitive eyes. "Why don't you live with us, Grammy?" "Because sometimes adults need space to be happy, and I'm learning to be happy again." He hugged me, and in that hug, I felt something. Not guilt, not regret, but certainty. Certainty that I did the right thing, that I chose the hard option, but the necessary one, that I saved what really mattered, not the relationship, but my soul. A week ago, I received a handwritten letter from my daughter. I recognized her handwriting. That handwriting I taught her when she was 5 years old. That handwriting she copied from me for so many years. The letter said, "Mom, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what we did was unforgivable, but I want you to know that every day I carry the shame of what I did to you. Every night, when I put my kids to bed, I think about how you used to put me to bed with love, patience, and sacrifice, and I wonder, how could I repay you this way? I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm not asking to go back to the way things were. I'm just asking that you know this. I'm sorry, with every fiber of my being. I regret it, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the woman you deserved as a daughter, even if it's too late." I read that letter 3 times. I cried. I won't lie. I cried because a part of me, that maternal part that never completely dies, wanted to believe the regret was real, that we could heal, that we could rebuild something resembling a family. But then I put the letter in a drawer and didn't respond, not out of cruelty, not out of insensitivity, but because I learned that some wounds don't heal with words. Some doors, once closed, need to stay closed, not for revenge, but for survival. Maybe in the future, when the 2 years have passed, when they've made all the payments, when they've shown with actions, not just words, that they've changed. Maybe then we can talk. Maybe then I can consider building something new. Not what we had, that's dead, but something different, something smaller, more honest, more real. But that day isn't today. Today I'm still healing, still learning to trust again, still rebuilding the self they almost destroyed. And that's okay. It's okay to take time. It's okay to protect yourself. It's okay to say not yet. Yesterday, as I walked through the farmer's market buying vegetables for the week, I saw an older woman, maybe my age. She was arguing on the phone. Her voice was trembling, and she was saying things like, "But you're my daughter. How can you ask me for this? I already gave you everything I have." And in that moment, I saw myself a year ago, giving, justifying, believing that love could change people who don't want to change. I approached her after she hung up. "Excuse me, I don't want to intrude, but I heard your conversation, and I want to tell you something. You don't have to give until you have nothing left. You don't have to drain yourself to keep others warm. It's okay to say no. It's okay to protect yourself. It's okay to choose yourself." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "But how? She's my daughter. And she's my daughter too. And she almost destroyed me until I understood that loving someone doesn't mean letting that person destroy you. Sometimes the greatest love is self-love." She stayed silent, processing everything, and then slowly nodded, as if someone had finally given her permission to feel what she had been feeling for months. I gave her my phone number in case she needs to talk to someone who understands, because in the end, that's what matters. Not the money recovered, not the revenge achieved, not the justice served. What remains is the ability to help other people who are where you were, to be the voice you needed to hear when you were at your worst. "Get out of here, you useless old woman." Those were the words my daughter screamed at me 88 days ago. Words that broke my heart. Words I thought would destroy me, but they didn't. Because I discovered I wasn't useless. I was strong. I was capable. I was a survivor. I was a woman who knew the law, who documented evidence, who made hard decisions, who chose justice over silence. And today, as the sun comes through the window of my small apartment, as I drink my coffee in my favorite mug, as I plan my day without having to ask anyone's permission or sacrifice myself for anyone, I understand something fundamental. Some words, when spoken to you, can set you free, can show you who you really are, can push you toward the life you deserve, but were afraid to claim. My daughter thought she was kicking me out, thought she was punishing me, thought that without them I was nothing. But what she really did was give me the push I needed to save myself, and for that, in a strange and painful way, I almost thank her, because now I'm free, finally, completely, painfully, beautifully free, and that is priceless. If you enjoyed this story, click subscribe and tell me in the comments what part impressed you. There's more tomorrow. See you there.